Hello guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Aspects. Today we're going to be looking at a legendary aspect known as Exploiters. The Exploiters aspect is a very interesting one, specifically for PvP, and it is considered a utility slot, although it does also have some odd placement choices. If we take a look over on Diablo 4.life, you'll see that it has Helm, Chest, armor, gloves, boots, shield, and amulet, which is a very strange array of options. You cannot put this on a one-handed weapon or a two-handed weapon, but you can put it on your amulet, which does enhance it by, I think it's, 50%, so you're looking at a 60% multiplier, which isn't not too bad. 60% multiplier would be represented as 1.60 if you were going to multiply it. Now, this particular aspect, if you're trying to gamble it, is actually most optimal to gamble on boots, on the druid. That seems to be the best slot in general to gamble for this particular item. You can gamble it on just about any character, but it does seem like the druid has the best odds. So if you're trying to get your hands on it, it's a good place. Now, the Exploiters aspect says, imprinted, this is imprinted, of course, you have a 20% increased crowd control duration, which isn't really the most amazing thing in the world. Crowd control duration is kind of meh. I'm not really sure a lot of people are really too keen on stacking that. But it says, while enemies are unstoppable, which is a specific state that enemies go into that prevents them from being affected by any forms of crowd control, like freezes, stuns, chills, etc., you deal 40% times increased damage to them, which does vary from 20 to 40, so you definitely will want to get a 40. Now, this particular effect does not work on bosses. Bosses are not considered unstoppable by that metric, which means that you do not get the bonus versus bosses when you're using this particular item. It does, however, work versus regular monsters and elites when they are considered unstoppable, and also if you apply too many crowd controls to a monster within a short period of time, they can become unstoppable as well from a form of crowd control protection, which basically protects the monster from crowd controls being spammed on them infinitely. So during that time period where they are under the effect of the protection of the crowd control, you then have the multiplier in that case as well. It's a pretty effective item for certain monsters, but also extremely ineffective for others. The unstoppable not applying to bosses is rather unfortunate, but one of the things that this aspect is actually extraordinarily good for is PvP. In PvP, whenever a player triggers an unstoppable ability, this means that you will now get a 40% times increase in damage versus that player. It also increases the crowd control duration of the player as well when you're applying crowd control effects to them. So either they are not unstoppable and you are getting a longer duration of crowd control effects, chills, freezes, stuns, etc., or they are unstoppable and you're getting an increased amount of damage to them during that time period. This makes it honestly an absolutely insane item for PvP, and if you were to throw it on an amulet, it would get the 60% instead of the 40%. However, because this particular aspect is not required to be on an amulet, ring, weapon, etc., it actually can be thrown on something as simple as a pair of boots to get you the same bonus. The boot slot is not really the most amazing slot in the world, and so depending on your character and how you have your character set up for PvP, you may want to just simply slot in an Exploiters in your boot slot in place of whatever else you have there, because not having this aspect in PvP is going to put you at a disadvantage, in my opinion. It's one of those aspects that if I were to PvP, if I were to set up a PvP character, this is definitely one that would be included 100% in the build. All in all, definitely an interesting one, but not really the most useful for a PvE character, so keep that in mind. As always, I do appreciate you guys and gals watching my videos, even when we're just talking about the Exploiters aspect. And as always, keep watching.